Welcome back. In this edition of our show From Logo to Impact, we're trying to understand what's going on in the banking space. And from Yes Bank right now, we have Rajat Mehta joining us, who is President and Country Head of Retail Marketing at Yes Bank. Great to have you with us, Rajat. In our interactions in the past also, I've been trying to get a sense of the changing scenario, as it were. And I want to understand how much it's changing, because you are one of the later entrants in this space. Right. It's only 2004 that you started business in India. Right. And obviously, it has been tough to kind of break into what is an established scenario.
That's right.
But then marketing-wise, in terms of their contribution, to see Yes Bank all over the place, that's what I am noticing.
Yeah.
And to be the fifth largest player in the private sector banking space, what has marketing really done for you?
So, well, Vikram, it's been an interesting journey, and it's been a very fulfilling journey. But I think the first steps on innovation and marketing were taken at the brand name itself, right? I mean, cut back to 2004, and even today, brand names in banking are really boring and really long. And 10 years back, 11 years back, when we started off, to have a very, very bold brand name like Yes, I think was itself, the germination of a hugely innovative marketing journey.
Correct. And that would have definitely helped, right?
It would have helped, but the first few years were tough because there were naysayers and people said, how can a bank be called Yes Bank?
Right.
But I think the core or the sort of brand ethos were clearly defined around innovation, customer centricity, and positivity. And I think that's what we are all about as a brand.
Sure.
And I think that has been the center of the entire marketing, ethos, the brand and the bank's ethos, in a sense.
Right. So that's in a broader sense, Rajat. But to understand, like, brass tacks, what really was done, because I'm seeing a lot of presence in the digital world as well. Out of home is huge for you as well. We've seen your connections with the IPL world since the year 2013. So all of this is obviously going to be put together. But then there is a little difference, when you're starting out, catering to younger professionals. The approach needs to be different.
Absolutely.
So what was that difference in real terms?
First few years, we were more of a corporate bank, not really a very large retail player, right? Because we started from scratch. Please remember, we had no institutional backing. This was a greenfield bank.
Right.
And day zero, we just had our initial capital, and we had no customers. And, the journey, and obviously no marketing monies, no budgets, right? So the first few years was about building a knowledge brand in the corporate space, and which is a very differentiated, very different space, not the real consumer marketing space, but about building knowledge, expertise, and building brand values around that. And I think that was a very, very important phase of the brand, because the brand, Yes Bank as a brand, is a very efficient brand, right? We didn't spend much, but the positioning of the bank was as a very, very solid knowledge-based institution.
You talked about marketing spends, Rajat, and that's what I'm trying to understand as well. You're saying you started out with no money for marketing, but today if you look at the kind of spends and the kind of money that you spend compared to your peers as well, whether it's the leaders in the pack, whether it's your ICICI Bank or Axis Bank, how does Yes Bank really compare?
Well, so I think we'll still be a small portion, a small fraction of what they spend. We'd like to believe that we spend it a little more efficiently, so that...
How do you do that?
Well, so I think it's a 360-degree marketing approach, but you got to do a bit of everything and do it a lot more efficiently. But the most important, the cornerstone of our marketing, strategy is customer centricity. How do you create those one-to-one connects? And in the retail space, for example, the easiest way of building a consumer brand is to go and advertise and spend millions of dollars. But again, we've not been able to do that all along. Yes, we have an IPL, which is a large ticket spend.
Yes.
But what do you do the year round? And we have this beautiful property called Yes Community. So this again dates back to the time where banks were shunning customers out of their branches, charging them for branch visits.
Right.
We initiated something called Yes Community, and every fortnight, all our branches would hold events on socially and environmentally relevant themes. Now, in a sense, the branch was being transformed into a chopal, into like a community hub. And over the years, it's become a movement. And our consumers, the branch serving area in and around our branches, they just love us.
Right.
So you have children, you have senior citizens coming in and just connecting.
Let's talk about the IPL connection as well. So you need to chart a different course, considering that all your competitors, they've had a longer stint.
Sure.
As far as being in the country, doing business in this country is concerned. There are perceptions around banking.
Sure.
I would imagine that for a Yes Bank, it would be very important to break certain perceptions and try and create this new young culture of banking. How effective has it really been in trying to reach out to the audience that you want to?
Well, so again, it's a context that you need to see at. And 3 years back, because we run 3 seasons of IPL, I think the challenge for the brand was awareness, right? Because while we were expanding, awareness in across the length and breadth of the country was still a challenge, a marketing challenge. And which we said to ourselves, which is that platform that takes us agnostic of every other sort of demographic into the parts of the country, right? And it was unilaterally the IPL platform. It is the single largest property in India, right? In fact, if one of the largest sporting properties in the world. So IPL really got our awareness percentages great. It got our consideration numbers up by 30%. And I mean, IPL is ultimately a very, very youth-centric product. And it's got those people coming into Yes Bank, associating with Yes Bank, who may have not been too inclined because they didn't know enough about the brand. So I think IPL's worked wonderfully for us. Got all the the vital stats in a sense from brand perspective.
So it's ticked all the boxes, Rajat. But the question is really, I mean, how do you become disruptive for a bank in the kind of space that we're looking at? I'm again kind of drawing you back to the fact that there is a very strong perception of how a bank should be. If you're going to try and be disruptive, change that notion, especially now with a young India, how do you go about it? Is there a thought process over here? Are you changing the marketing mix, as it were, the media mix that you're working with? I'm seeing a lot of out-of-home. How are you going to tie that in, for example, with your digital kind of spread, as it were?
Well, I think absolutely you have to be disruptive. But at the same time, the category that we operate in is a rational purchase category, right? And ultimately, it's not about just creating that one disruption, but creating multiple, sort of touch points which are disruptive and innovative over a period of time. So I think that's what we've been able to do. On the social platform, I think we've done really, really well. So I'm happy to share that we are the world's largest followed bank on Twitter, for example.
Yes, I was reading about this.
And some of those things.
5.2 lakh followers on Twitter?
Yeah, somewhere there. And I think the key there is how has that happened? It's not happened because we just had one disruptive campaign. I think it's about keeping the customer or the audience at the center and then doing a series of things year long. I think a lot of brands are guilty of just running campaigns and then going quiet. I think at Yes Bank, we don't do that ever. And some of these initiatives like the community initiative that I spoke about, a lot of other digital first initiatives that we've done, including using our partnership with Twitter. So for example, the Periscope app, which is Twitter's app, we were one of the first to use that. And
how did you use that?
So we actually did we were the first brand in India and possibly the world to telecast our annual results live on Periscope. And while I mean it may seem just another medium, but it was a first, it was a thought process. And I think just the kind of engagement we get on Twitter is phenomenal. In fact, Simplify 360, one of the most reputed social media agencies on audit, rank our engagements to be head and shoulder above any other bank in India. So not only do we have the numbers, but we are also able to drive a lot of engagement, and that engagement comes on the back of disruptive campaigns, but also sustained campaigns, because consumers, the youth today, don't want to associate with brands who have a hit and run approach. They want to associate with brands who are partners
on a consistent basis. But how do you do that with the kind of media that you're getting access to? And obviously marketing funds are always going to be limited. You can never have enough of that. So to be able to get maximum leverage with all the activities that you have on the ground and build that consistency, how do you go about doing it?
Well, I think so. Again, we have something what we call as a very fluid marketing mix, and the marketing mix keeps changing depending on the campaign, the time of the year, etc. We also do high impact, high frequency, but key sort of locations. So, you spoke of OOH, outdoor, and you have the perception that we spend lots on outdoor. We probably spend the least on outdoor amongst the top 5 banks in the country.
It's just very strategically positioned.
It's very strategically positioned. It also adds up to the overall, sort of campaign that we would be doing on print and television. So as a sum of parts, it looks like the brand is larger than it is. And I think that's the key strategy. At Yes Bank, we've almost preceded brand building before we've really, invested into geographies or businesses. And I think that's the key strength, that can we create a repute, can we create a brand salience, before we become, larger. And I think that's what we've been able to.
And can you get more people to say yes to Yes Bank? That's a space that we'll be watching very closely. Rajat, many thanks for joining us with all of that.